House Republicans, ever since regaining control, have been hell-bent on Hunter Biden's D-pics and other things like government spending that's out of control, spending on things like food stamps so people can eat. Anyway, but now they are proposing something different. In fact, they want spending when it comes to giving themselves a raise. That's right. They are leading the charge to give themselves more money. That's amazing, isn't it? Can you believe they're actually openly doing this? So under the legislative branch spending bill approved by the House Appropriations Committee last month, House members would receive a 4.6% pay raise, according to the Congressional Research Service reports roll call. It would be an $8,000 raise over their current salaries of $174,000 a year. Let's look at what is in the bill and see what is not in the bill. What are they stripping out in order to give themselves this raise? So if they get their way, the raise would come in a bill that also cuts spending across the board, except for defense and veterans care and border militarization, but it drastically decreases funding for public programs and the social safety net, including cuts to critical anti-poverty programs like Social Security, Medicare, and free school lunches. Remember those pesky free school lunches? Also, Social Security and Medicare, remember how they promised Biden they wouldn't do that? It would also, according to a new draft of the Labor, Health, and Education Funding Bill released Thursday, eliminate federal funding for public health research on issues like firearm safety and ending HIV while slashing, ending HIV, so research on ending HIV, while slashing education department funding by 28%. So that they, I mean, look, it's not one-to-one. I'm sure the money's coming from elsewhere, but this is what they are openly proposing. The House Legislative Branch Appropriations Chairman actually gets how bad this looks. He says, quote, having been around a few campaigns in my life, do you think that campaign consultants who are geniuses, do you think they'll be able to tee that one up? Bob Smith voted for an $8,000 raise while he cut your blah, blah benefits. Yeah, he's not a serious person, but I like how blase he's taking this whole thing. Interestingly, actually, the House of Reps hasn't gotten a raise since 2009, which is coincidentally the last time the federal minimum wage was raised. Again, $7.25 an hour, which means if you're doing the math, Truth Out did it for us. A worker would have to work over 1,100 hours or over a half of a year, assuming a 40-hour work week, in order just to be paid the same amount as the raise the Republicans are seeking to give themselves next year. So, hey, it's not enough money for them to do nothing, to slash critical programs, and also to investigate Hunter Biden and his many, many illustrious images.
Yeah. So look, the fact that they do nothing is maddening. I'm gonna come back to that in a second. First, these raises for public officials, generally speaking, I actually don't mind them, because you want to pay public officials well enough so that they don't take bribes. The problem with our system is that's all they ever do is take bribes. Like, we legalized it, so they'd be crazy not to take it. So now we call them campaign contributions. Yeah, they funnel some of that money to themselves, but they mainly put it in their campaigns so that they can get reelected and have more power, so they can give themselves raises and other things along those lines. So in this intensely corrupt system, when you say, hey, I want to give myself an $8,000 raise, but I'm going to cut your Social Security and I'm going to cut education for your kids by 28%, my answer to that is hell to the no. Not even close. But when you throw in minimum wage, they haven't raised it since 2009. It's at $7.25. And look, I want you to understand the magnitude of that quote that Franny just read you, okay? So if you work the whole year at minimum wage, the federal minimum wage, you have to spend about 7 months or so to get to $8,000. So they're saying we'd like to give ourselves a raise, but not you a raise in minimum wage. And you have to work 7 months just to get to my raise, let alone the $174,000 I already make. That is disgusting.
This is the question though. So for all the conservative voters out there, we had the midterms, we keep talking about the red wave that didn't happen. They talked about inflation, they talked about education costs. They talked about maybe, actually they didn't, but the other things that affect your life. The around the dinner table conversations, childcare, healthcare, the cost of groceries. They talked about baby formula, all these things that happen. So if you're making $7.25 an hour and your annual income is just more than $15,000, how much do they give a damn about all those things that they said you have to take care of? How much do they actually care about the source for your problems? Or do they just want you to complain about your problems so you can then run back to them and say, hey, you guys actually complain about all of our problems? They are cutting off a way that you can come out of some of those problems, or even just maybe manage them a little bit better. Because by the way, raising the minimum wage up to, let's say, $10 an hour still isn't gonna cut it because of all these other costs and them allowing corporations, companies, whoever else to gouge you even further on these types of topics, right? So we have that, and then when they've raised their own, they expect you to keep looking at them and going, well, that's okay, they're a congressman. They're pretty much letting you buy into this hierarchical society that they deserve these types of raises when you don't deserve anything. They act like if you actually want something to do with being a part of your economy, being part of the American dream, that you're being selfish, that you're overreaching your lot in life. And we're buying that, we're buying it. And we're just saying, yeah, I'll take that, give you more of my money. Where do you think the $8,000 for each of them is gonna come from? Where do you think it's coming from? Do you think it's coming from your taxes that you're not getting anything back for? That anybody who says, hey, I should maybe get something for this, they go, how dare you? You know, you're an American, the greatest country in the history of the world that has citizens that are struggling. Where does it make any sense? Somehow we keep buying it.
Or that they have the authority to do that for themselves. Like what
Jesus.
other worker? Like you work for us, you know? Is there HR here? Where's the parliamentarian that can be like, you know, you actually can't just give yourself an $8,000 raise without giving other people a raise too. It's just so funny. But look, if it supports Marjorie Greene's, you know, podcast, that's exciting. You know, it's important work.
Jesus, man.
Okay, they don't even work. That's exactly right.
They don't work.
They take all of August off. I ran for Congress and I checked their schedule. They barely work half the year. And then more to Franny's point, Marjorie Taylor Greene complained she works too hard. Okay, come on. And then on top of that, you're gonna give yourself an $8,000 raise and then say, in the same bill, but we're gonna cut money for you. It just doesn't get any more disgusting than that. So there you go, the United States Congress, a good example of it. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.